Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy NeoStarling, and I am back here with another podcast. I apologize because I wanted to make this recap series happen on a more frequent basis. However, I am in the process of moving, so it is becoming a little more difficult for me to produce these videos, but fear not, because I will actually be producing more of them once I move and I am more situated in my living situation. With that said, none of you really care about that. You came here to see a recap of the Never Hero series, which I am going to do right now, so stay tuned. Now, with that said, I am going to be reviewing chapter 2 and 3. Yes, that's correct. We actually have a double feature today. Now, the reason that we have a double feature is simply because realistically, honestly, the second chapter is kind of short. It's like a 2.5 minute read, so I don't want to waste an entire video just covering one chapter. I feel like I can give you 2 chapters and give you just as much value doing that. So that's what we're going to do. Now, with that said, the second chapter begins with this dude. He's essentially on a call with another individual. Now, this individual has a voice modifier of some sort, and he sounds all distorted and weird, kind of like when you hit play on a mixer and you use the special sound effects, how it'll create like this distorted sort of effect. So that's what the guy is doing. So he's talking to him about this blonde man that they're searching for, which is the guy that we heard about previously during the prologue, which is interesting. So now we're getting more of a sense of who this individual might possibly be. It seems that there is a government interest in finding out who this person is, and he is stationed in Seattle. Now, the other individual on the other end said that he's going to be dispatching 2 teams in order to find out what's going on with this particular individual. So that's pretty much the crux of the second chapter. I feel that if that's all I would have done, then that would have been a really short and boring video. So we're going to actually cover the third chapter, which is where we start to meet more of our protagonists, which I think it's a little more fun. So that's what we're going to do. Now, chapter 3, it takes place in a garage. There are 2 dudes working on a motorcycle. One of them is Jonathan. Now he's an adult because this is 9 years later. So this is after the funeral, 9 years later. He's an adult. He goes to college. He has roommates. One of his roommates, Colin, he's there in the house with him, and they're working on Colin's motorcycle. Now, Jonathan ends up dropping a bulb inside of the motorcycle, so Colin pretty much starts calling him Tibbs, and Tibbs is like a condescending way of him referring to him once he feels that he's messed up with something. So Jonathan actually hates being called Tibbs because that's actually his last name, but he knows that it's used in a way to make fun of him. Now, what I found interesting about this was that Colin wanted him to work on the motorcycle initially because he wanted to get Jonathan interested in the idea of working on the motorcycle to do more quote-unquote man stuff, which is pretty cool. I dig it, why not? I think that every man should personally know how to work with more tools, work with their hands, being able to change a tire, things of that nature, right? So his roommate wants him to take an interest in that, which sort of mirrors his father wanting him to take an interest in the paint that he had him choose in the beginning early on in the previous chapters. So it sort of mirrors that, and I thought it was kind of cool. Jonathan does, however, have a personality. He's not a stiff, and he tells him that it's foreplay, that he dropped the bulb inside of the motorcycle, and Colin tells the motorcycle, hey man, like, don't humor him, you lead him, you do him no good by leading him on, which I thought was pretty funny. So it shows that these two have some camaraderie with each other, and they get along really well, which is cool. So in comes their third roommate, which is Paige. Paige is the only girl in the crew as of now, and she's saying, hey guys, like, we got to go to this bar. This dude that she was talking to a while back, his name was Grant, wanted to buy her some drinks, and she was super excited about it, but the other 2 had no idea who Grant was. So she's confused, and she's thinking to herself, why don't you guys know? And they weren't like purposely being obtuse. They genuinely didn't know because she gets approached by a lot of dudes at the bar because she's an attractive woman. I thought that was kind of interesting. And she said, the guy that you referred to as Meathead, and that's when they remembered who he was. Colin didn't really like the idea of this individual that she was talking about because he has a crush on her. And he's had a crush on her for a while, so whenever she talks about other dudes, he kind of gets like a little passive aggressive. It is what it is. He chose to basically hold his feelings and not tell her anything because she has an attraction to the macho man, like tall, dark, handsome, brolic type of dudes. He doesn't stack up. He's a graphics design major, and he essentially sits in a chair all day. He's not in very good shape. He couldn't do a pull-up to save his life. he's sort of the polar opposite of the type of man that she likes. And it is what it is. Like, it happens, right? We can't really get upset about that. The guy feels how he feels. Jonathan, on the other hand, didn't really want to go anywhere because he has a paper that he's working on, and he's a B average student at best, so he has to work really hard in order to maintain his grade. But it being a Friday, he decides to go anyway. That's where they meet their third roommate, Hayden, who also lives with them. So there's 4 roommates in total. There's Hayden, Colin, Jonathan, and Paige. They live in Seattle, and they rent this house 4 ways because it's cheaper for college students that way. So they go to this like really cheap dive bar, and the only reason they really go there is not because they love it, but rather the proximity to their house. So it sort of reminds me of me in a way. I have this local crappy bar that I like to go to also, that not because I love it, but because it's close to where I live. So I thought that was interesting. But with that said, this is where we also meet Grant, which is the individual that she's interested in. And he systematically like demolished them in pool. He kicks their ass. He's like, hey man, I'm this competitive, brolic military dude. You guys can't really mess with me kind of thing. He wanted to play Jonathan. Jonathan, of course, didn't want to entertain it. He probably knew that he wouldn't win. So he was like, you know what? I don't want to do this. Like, let's move on. Colin and Hayden are probably by far, so far at this point, my favorite characters in the story because they remind me of me and my roommates. They start talking about Superman and Jesus and their similarities. So I thought that was really interesting. And Colin wanted to get a tattoo of Superman, but Hayden thought that it was a dumb idea because Hayden falls more on the religious side. And as a result, he thinks that it's dumb. And Colin tells him, well, it's no dumber than getting a crucifix. And then they start having this argument. Now, this actually hit close to home for me because I actually have a Batman tattoo on my body. So I thought it was pretty hilarious. But anyway, they start talking about this, and then they start talking about how they should revamp the New Testament to make Jesus a parody of Superman, which I am all up for that. I think that's a great idea. I think stuff like that is pretty cool. Paige goes off to a side booth with Meathead or Grant, and you know they're talking it up, doing their thing. In Jonathan's mind, he's like, that guy's either gonna wake up in my house or she's not coming home tonight. One of the two things is gonna happen. So he's about to beat it up basically. And so he tells them, hey guys, like, I'm gonna leave because he has work to do, and he doesn't want to be late to work the next day because his boss will see a hangover a mile away, so he'll actually just start making him do a lot of work. So Jonathan wants to avoid that, so he starts to leave. But before he leaves, his roommates ask him if they think that the idea of a Superman tattoo is dumb, and he kind of plays Switzerland in this situation. He didn't really care about the response. And they both surprisingly were angry because they felt that it was a cop-out answer. Now, what I like about these two roommates is that even though they disagree on a lot of things, they're still friends at the end of the day. So they can have disagreements and still sort of do their thing. That just doesn't happen a lot nowadays. So I found that to be like a breath of fresh air. But as Jonathan leaves the bar, this man starts to follow him. He walks on his way out with Jonathan. And that is where this chapter ends. I'm gonna leave you on a little cliffhanger there. If you like the content that I am providing for you, please feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, do the damn thing and help a brother out. I will be reviewing the 4th chapter probably tomorrow, most likely, and I will be posting this one up. If you guys like what I'm doing, feel free to let me know. Anything that you feel that I can improve on. I actually try to change my setup here a little bit. As you can see, it's not the same one that I always do. And yeah, I'm gonna be making a lot of changes because I am in the process of moving. But with that said, you guys are all awesome, and don't ever let anyone tell you different. Signing off.